Welcome to the show.
Hi, Brittany. So good to see you.
Yes, you have an awesome background there. I know we just kind of got dislodged. These construction workers, man, they're just everywhere.
Yeah, they definitely know our interview schedules. So
Don't they know we're trying to podcast? But that's okay. I'll talk about vulvas everywhere, anywhere, So are you in like a closed room?
I am.
Okay,
I am.
Cool. Well, I'm sure that you are no stranger to talking about women and pleasure and their health out in public. So hopefully the construction workers can hear something and like it, it's good for them.
They'll learn something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we always love to start our interviews asking our guests about their background. So where are you from? What did you study? Did you have a career before getting into what you currently do? And how did you end up here?
Yeah, so I was born in Taiwan, and my whole family immigrated to Atlanta, to Georgia, when I was 6 years old. So English was not my first language. And I grew up in Georgia, which is really unique in that there aren't that many Asian women, Asian people in general, in Georgia. It's not like the West Coast. I now live in San Francisco, where I've been for the last 12 years. And it's just so different. I have a background in industrial design, so I've been designing products, physical products for women and general population, from things like hairbrushes to bicycles to furniture. Before when I was about 28, so that's about 12 years ago, I decided that I wanted to design vibrators for women. And here we are.
Hell yes. What was the turning point from furniture and bicycles to sex toys?
Yeah, I noticed that in my profession of industrial design, I was generally the only woman on the team, or I was the first female hire of the design team. And at first I was like, okay, this is just kind of odd. And then as I started to talk to more women, I learned that that wasn't an exception to the rule. That was sort of how things are in my industry, which is very alarming, because when you think about how designers create products, they're all bringing their own lived experiences. And when you have a team that is all men, or they have a very homogenous view of the world, and they're ignoring pretty much 50 to 51% of the population, the products that they create are not going to be suitable for the general population, because they've ignored women basically, but these products are not optimized, and they're not ideal. And I think in particular, vibrators to me was an area that I remember. I was like 27 or something at the time. I was looking for a vibrator for myself, and I was living in Boston at the time. I bounced around, and I was just kind of, I don't know, underwhelmed at the selection that I had at that time. And when I looked more into products, because I've been to sex toy shops before, when I was in my early 20s, and I thought things have gotten better, and then by then it was still not better. Like, the products available to me were the same old awkward, embarrassing, phallic objects. And that's when I decided that, wow, I also learned that that was an industry that was created by men, directed at women, marketed towards women, but not really designing for women. So that's where I decided that I wanted to do something about that.
How do you figure out who's the designer of sex toys? Like when you walk in there and you walked in at the sex shop and you were like, what the heck? Like, who's designing these? Like, can you look that up?
Well, I think for one, you can definitely deduce it by the shapes that they put out, because I know I'm kind of generalizing, but like, what do men think women want? Yes, obviously they're D. Now, I only got this confirmation because I've been in industry for so long, and I've actually been to the trade shows. I know who's behind the brands.
Yeah.
I know who runs a lot of the big brands and all that. And I'm like, wow, this pretty much validates and confirms my suspicion. I mean, and also if you think about the packaging of some of these products, it's like, it's like these scantily clad women, not that there's anything wrong with that, trying to sell a product. And that's obviously very much created from a male gaze
Yeah.
of what men think women want to be to please them. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And that was all very off-putting. And so when you think of it from that lens, and also some of the branding of the products are just so atrocious. So you're like, did you even hire a marketing person for this? And that's when I was like, yeah, wow, okay. And then also, if you trace back historically, where a lot of these products came from, they were very much created by the porn production industry
Mm.
that decided to make products. And so that's sort of the root of a
Mhm.
lot of the products that we see today.
So I know a lot of toys I've had over the years. Like they have little butterflies or turtles on them or whatever.
Yeah.
And all of the sex tech companies I see in femtech today, I almost see no animals. Is the butterfly thing, and is that all like from the male gaze thinking what women wanted, that we wanted a butterfly vibrating on us?
So this is my personal unsubstantiated account of how that went.
Okay.
I think men got together like, oh, what do you think? What do you think women want? They want a penis. Okay, so let's make a penis. So they made a penis. It's like, well, okay, well, maybe this is a little aggressive. Let's make it pink, because women like pink, right? Let's make it pink. Okay, they made it pink and they're like, oh, I don't know. It's just still kind of like aggro. Like, oh, I know. We'll put something cutesy, like a butterfly, or make it like a dolphin. So it's a little
Like a
more
dolphin,
cute.
yeah. Or a little rabbit.
Yeah.
Little
Yeah.
rabbit,
So it's a little more, approachable. And
yeah.
and then they called it a day. That
Uh-huh.
is my account of where I think that came from.
Okay. Yeah. I've never thought about it till right now with the whole animal thing. Cause it's true. I don't, any of the new products from our femtech founders, I don't see any cutesy little animals. I see like high tech engineered, futuristic looking, materials. So, wow. All right.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a perspective of how I think an industry that's very disconnected to real women
Yeah.
feel that they can make something approachable and cutesy and less threatening than, like, it's like, dude, like yeah, it's not about dolphins and butterflies and cutesy themes like that. It's very, very insulting, I think, also. But not
Yeah.
to say, like, some people do like cutesy things, and that's fine. But that is just, an approach.
Yeah, totally. So you're like, what the heck is going on here? I'm a product designer. I know what's up. What did you do about it?
So for me, for one, I was very drawn to the fact that these type of products are for a very real human need, which is pleasure, which is something that our bodies deserve. And yet the products available to meet that need were just so horribly conceived, poorly manufactured, and clearly not with the intended users in mind.
Mhm.
And so there are two problems here. From the product point of view, that was an issue, but the other point of view was also this cultural stigma that kept these products in places where women didn't want to go. They didn't want to go to that weird shop on the corner of downtown somewhere with some weird dude behind the counter, and that there was just a whole host of problems from product to the experience. And for me, I felt the only way to really lift this out of the gutter was to really create products that are so beautiful and so functional, so easy to use, that when people look at this product, they no longer think of, ooh, this is gross, this is icky, this is inappropriate. And so that is sort of my intent in going in as a designer, is to bring really aesthetically and well-considered products from a functional technology standpoint and aesthetic standpoint, that elevate what this category could be.
Mhm, mhm. Is that when you started Crave?
So actually, technically, I started a company before I joined Crave. I started a company, I bootstrapped it myself, called Incognito. And
Oh,
it was a series of sex toys that brought together sex toys and jewelry. So I kind of started that idea in 2008. And from that, I was a one-woman show, bootstrapped it, and I launched this company. Good Vibrations gave me my very first PO, which was amazing. They're one of the first female and sex toys in the U.S. And yeah, and so I launched this company, and then a year and a half into that, I met Michael, my co-founder at Crave. So basically, he had started Crave, and luckily, he was one of those men that had the foresight to know that there are already too many male voices in this industry. So from the get-go, he was already looking for a partner who is both a design leader as well as someone with entrepreneurial chops, and I just happened to fit that bill. And then we serendipitously connected at a trade show way back in 2000, I think like 2010 or 2009. And so we ended up, he bought my company incognito to bring me on board. So, and I continued on with the idea of sex toys versus and jewelry, into Crave, but as well as creating and designing, new products for them. So I've been with Crave since the beginning in 2010, and so that's that.
Oh my gosh, amazing. And so as you're in this career, you spoke briefly about like the culture of it, of like going into a sex shop and stuff, but you also said, you're an immigrant from Taiwan. What does your family think about this? Is that a conversation that happens, or is it just like you don't talk about it, or what does that look like?
I will definitely say that me starting a sex toy company was not their first choice of their preference of my way of bringing honor to the family. They would have rather me, having done something else. However, that said, they're very proud of me. All my family is. I'm very lucky in that. Even though both my parents are conservative, they are very open-minded. I think both of them have, maybe it's they're both scientists in that respect, and to them I think it made sense, after I showed them the products and whatnot. But of course it was definitely a little off-putting at first, but now they're all very proud of me.
Oh, that's awesome. And so so you're in this company Crave. What does Crave do?
So as a whole, we bring modern products, um, pleasure products that basically look as good as they feel. We are a very female centric company, and we really embrace the idea of women's lived experiences. And we have a diverse team of folks, men and women, because it's not just about, oh, only women can design for women. It's not that. It's that it's important to have stakeholders who are women. But when you have a diverse team, you are able to address problems from multiple points of view. That is a way you can solve a problem more thoroughly when you have people of different backgrounds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've been around for about 10 years. We have a a micro factory in downtown San Francisco. And we have created some really cool products throughout the years.
You sell them through your website, or are you distributor to like the Adam and Eves of the world?
So we have we definitely are direct to consumer predominantly, but we definitely want to meet people where they are, which means that we do support shops that people like to go to, in places like Museum of Sex, Pleasure Chest, Babeland, Good Vibrations, and the very well curated experiences that women are comfortable with. So but predominantly we are direct to consumer brand.
Yeah. So cool. And I know on your website it is still very like jewelry oriented, right?
I would say no. We're best known for this one. So we have about 8 products right now,
Okay. Yeah.
and the Vesper vibrator necklace, we launched that in 2014, and that has become probably the product we are best known for as a brand. It is a product that is very unique. We have patents around it, and it is basically an external clitoral vibrator that you can wear as a necklace. So it has both a very functional aspect of this product where, if you just want to leave it at home and use it as a great external, slim, elegant vibe at home by your bedside, all for it. You can remove the chain, and it's great for that. On the flip side, it has this really unique aspect of being able to be worn out as a statement piece, as a
Yeah.
statement jewelry piece. And that is, I think, the embodiment of what I think Crave and what I'm trying to do is that because this product is so beautiful, when people wear it out, it's creating conversations wherever it goes. Like I've had so many stories of women saying like, "Oh, I wore this to brunch," or "I've worn this on my first Tinder dates because I wanted to see if this guy was cool."
Yeah.
And to them, they use this Vesper as like a litmus test to see if he's cool or not. And I was like, "That's amazing."
Oh my God.
Um, yeah, and I think that is that. So yeah. So this product really, I think, put us on the map, and we also have a range of other products that are just great external clitoral vibrators, because we understand that there isn't like a one vibrator for everybody.
Yeah.
I think women want different experiences, as well as like, a woman who maybe really loved the necklace one day may really want something else the next day. We are capricious like that, and we have different moods, and so we offer a range of products for those experiences instead of approaching it from like, oh, this is the one vibrator for all, because I don't think that really exists.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, speaking of like personalization, can you tell us about what My Vibes is?
Yeah, my vibes. So if you go to our website, there is a section for my vibes, and where that came from was actually in 2015. So as a brand, we actually launched the world's first crowd-funded vibrator in 2011. That was with the duet. Yeah, and I mean, I know that's way back when crowdfunding was all the
Yeah.
rage, and now, yeah, and now it's like so pedestrian. But yeah, so that was in 2011. But then in 2015, because that went over so well, we realized like, wow, there is a lot we don't know about the vibration patterns of women, of what they like, what they prefer. And so we created My Vibes back in 2015 as a way when we crowdfunded our Flex series, which we have two products, Flex and Duet Flex. These are both products that are have basically very flexible tips. And when we did the crowdfunding of those, we decided to crowdsource the vibration patterns. So that means the first 200 people that purchases off our site, they were able to use My Vibes to adjust exactly the patterns and the power and the intensity that they like.
Uh-huh.
So that was first created as a way so that these women can adjust what they want and then send the data back to us. And then we did big data crunch, and then we found these like most uh, 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 well liked
Yeah.
patterns, and then we put that into the final product. So that's
Whoa.
kind of where it started. And then we learned that, hey, look, there are plenty of times when women, they get a vibe and those vibration patterns aren't customizable. Like you could make it some more intense or less intense, but sometimes even some of the lowest of the low is still too strong for you, or the highest power setting is still not powerful enough. So we decided to take the My Vibes into a next level of customization, is that it allows people who buy our newest Duet Pro, they can plug this in and then adjust and manipulate the patterns, the power, and the intensity to what they like. So
So cool. Like super customizable. I freaking love it so much. That is so awesome.
yeah, and like there's like I've heard women say like, sometimes I don't want to have like 32 patterns or 16 patterns that I have to like scroll through to find the pattern I like. So what's cool about My Vibes is that it allows you to just keep the ones you like. So for example, if all you like is constant, like you don't want any of those random mass patterns, you don't want any of that stuff, you just want like a nice constant, you can do that and then delete the other patterns and turn them off so that you just have what you want and at this power settings you want. So yeah.
Yeah, I know I personally hate it when I, you know, climax and then I have to go through the toys like 10 other settings. And I'm like, I'm trying to relax right now. Like all these like bells, all these like, whoa, whoa, and I have to try to get to the off version, right? Yeah,
Right.
that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, and I think that just goes to the user experience. I think, having just knowing that like we don't want to go through all that hassle of like
Yeah,
having to
like
go
what
through.
man has been like, oh yeah, and the woman doesn't want to go through all those settings afterwards. She just wants to kind of lean back and take a deep
Yeah,
breath,
just chill, just take it. Yeah, just chill, and like
turn
also
it off and lay
with our
down.
product.
Yeah.
Exactly. So with our products is like if you just hold it down like a long press, like a couple seconds, it just turns off wherever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make you go through all those different
Oh my
settings.
God. Can you tell us anything about like, is there like the most popular setting or something that we may find surprising?
Um, well, I think what's surprising is that just pleasure is just so complicated. And I think I know it's such a cop-out answer, but it's like,
Yeah.
um, I think as my role as a designer and, as the brand Crave, we really just try to create products for various experiences by embracing the fact that there is no one right experience for all. Because I think as humans, we really like to normalize things by like putting like a gold standard on something, so that's what we strive for. But I think in the case of particularly in pleasure, it is so diverse, and you can't, and people need to have options basically.
Mhm.
So that's what we try to do, is that we create both products that have a place in public like the necklace, but we also have plenty of products that are great at home, whether in the shower, in the bathtub, or etc., or all of the above.
Yeah. Well, so I also noticed on your website, I love the information that you provide, and you kind of talk about the history of sex toys. Would you be able to speak on that a little bit? Like when were sex toys? Is this a recent thing? Is this what happened there?
So you mean the history, like the history of pleasure, or do you mean the pleasure manifesto? Which one?
Let me see real quick. Listeners, you have got to check out their website, lovecrave.com. So cool. Oh, history of women's pleasure. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a project. So in addition to making products, another aspect of the company is that we do these projects. Oh, hold on one second. I have this is a Room's auto, so like suddenly if I don't move for 10 minutes, it just like turns off the light on me. Anyway, so that's why it suddenly went dark. Sorry, where was I?
The
Oh yeah,
project.
okay. Yeah, so in addition to making products, we also take the time to create these projects that we think help to start conversations in different
Yeah.
ways. Because of what we do, the topic is so stigmatized. There's
Mhm.
still so much taboo around it. There's so much red tape, like on social media. You can't, advertise, all these things that in order to change that perception, I think we feel that the way that we can do that is to help create that conversation. And so we do these projects like, for example, the history of pleasure, which is basically this video that we commissioned, that tells about women's pleasure, the history of it, basically how it has been suppressed for centuries. And we give facts from, back in the days of Greece to, Grey's Anatomy, how one of the editors simply deleted the clitoris, and the damage that Sigmund Freud has done on women's pleasure, by saying ridiculous, putting forth ridiculous hypotheses that many of which have now been debunked. Like one very famously is that he claimed that clitoral orgasms are only had by young girls and children, whereas like a penetrative orgasm are had by mature women, which is it's just straight up nonsense.
No.
Yeah. And a lot of his other theories about other things that he claimed is now like, very openly debunked. But
Yeah.
what happened was that effect made women and a lot of people feel that were broken somehow just because we could not climax via penetration. Whereas in reality, and later on, Alfred Kinsey
Kinsey.
concluded, Kinsey, yes,
History.
concluded that less than 18% of women can actually orgasm penetratively alone. That means without clitoral stimulation. Okay. So it just goes through the history of that so that people understand how so much of what we've tried to own as our own body, our own pleasure, has really been systematically suppressed for a really long time.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's also one other project I want to tap on really quickly. It's the pleasure tour. I think that's you in a van. It says
Yes.
Feel
Oh
the
my God.
Vibe workshop, and there's like this super dope little van. What? Tell me about
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is like, I would say that's probably the craziest thing I've done my entire life.
it.
Okay, in 2018, we purchased an Airstream, which is basically this trailer, which we gutted and then we made it, we renovated into a vibrator store. Basically, it's a vibrator pop-up store and a
Yeah, it
vibrator
looks like
factory.
a little like Apple store or something, like there's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly, exactly. And the idea was that we wanted to take this on tour. Now, one of the reasons I want to back up is the reason we did that is because I was so frustrated with the fact that after starting this company and for 5, 6 years, we found like an audience that really love our products. And as any company would do, once you found a good product market fit, you want to advertise it.
Mhm.
Well, unfortunately, because of what we do, all these progressive tech companies like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I mean, Facebook, Instagram are now the same thing, but they vehemently prohibit anything that has to do with female sexuality, whereas, Viagra for
Yeah,
men is totally fine.
yeah.
And so I was so frustrated that we were unable to do that. And we know that for a fact that whenever people see our products in person, they love it. They cannot believe that this is what modern sex toys look like. This is a vibrator, and the conversion is just super high, and they're really engaged. And so that's why we decided to create this Airstream, and it became this actual physical retail experience where basically I towed it by myself often, across the country, from San Francisco to Palm Springs to Portland to Boulder, to Chicago, New York, and then back along the way. And I think Pennsylvania. I mean, it was probably like the most empowering thing I've ever done. But it was just super awesome because we were in these mainstream design festivals and like Coachella or like Stagecoach and or design events where people were at, and when people saw our Airstream, they were just amazed at just like how like fun and friendly, and people all came in to look at this. And when they came in, it really changed how they felt about sex toys, because they realized like when they come in, they're like, wow, like these are sex toys. Like I don't have to like whisper about
Yeah, I mean, it's like super open, like, the van that looks
Mhm.
like super colorful and approachable. Like you may be selling ice cream cones or vibrators, like
They're
where,
both treats.
oh my gosh, last question for that one. Where is the van now?
So right now we have it in storage
Okay.
at the moment. Yeah. So due to the pandemic, we're
Yeah.
definitely not doing any in-person events for
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
How do y'all get around the lack of being able to do advertisements? I mean, this is like an obvious strategy, but also you can't just be on a van like traveling the country, right? Like you want to do scale marketing. So do you have any advice for our sex tech founders that are listening, that, or even it's not even sex tech, it's even breastfeeding startups can't post. Vaginal health companies can't do ads. So do you have any advice for companies that are struggling to get their marketing ads out there?
I mean, it's definitely atrocious, the censorship that a lot of these big tech companies are imposing. Um, you know, I, from our experience, I think we really go back to the product. We go back to making sure that the product is something that people love,
Mhm.
they love to use. And if that's the case, they will tell other people about it. Because
Mhm.
sometimes marketing is almost like this tax you pay on products that aren't really that great. And you just like pay and get it in front of people's faces and just like almost like, just hit them over the head with it with lots and lots of marketing. And I mean, of course, there's like an in between. And I feel like because we are kind of outcasted, like we are on the side that is not allowed to advertise. I think a great fundamental to start is to making sure that your product is really loved and well received by the actual end user,
Yeah.
because from that, then they will tell other people. And then I think one thing that I think we've been able to do well despite social media is that we have utilized social media to have really authentic conversations with our customers. What that means is that we listen. We listen to what they're confused about. We listen to what they're upset about. We listen to the things that they want more information on.
Mhm.
And that has helped us to become a better brand and to have a better dialogue with our consumers because these are real pain points. And so we try to come back to them with information that we've researched, we validated, and or bring sex experts or clinical psychologists or doctors to answer those questions, so that we're using social media to bring value
Yeah.
to people. So these are some of the ways that, we're not perfect. We are where we're at. We're, I think, one of the leading voices in pleasure products today. And despite not having advertising, these are the few things I think that has worked well for us.
Absolutely. And listeners, I hope you see a trend. We've done well over 100 episodes. The most successful femtech companies usually have an education arm for like educating their consumer. And they usually have a community arm to gather the voices, make them not feel alone, like they're the only ones, listening to your consumer. Very founder forward, very building in public, very like, hey, we're the creators, but this is for you, so you tell us, right? So that community aspect, and then referrals being the number one like acquisition strategy for femtech companies, because women trust women with their health. And so I don't know if you've ever heard of my femtech trifecta, but it's always so cool to, guests come on and they just like innocently tell me, and I'm like, that's the trifecta, like that's the thing, like if you're successful, that's what you have. And it's a big like ask, right, for founders to be an educator, community builder, an entrepreneur, a tech engineer, to be all these things. But that's what we do in femtech.
Yeah, and it just takes also great people and building a great team. Because one of the things I've learned is that I cannot do all of this by myself. There are some things I am absolutely shit at. And luckily, I've been lucky to find great people who, believe in this mission. And that is just so key to, founding a company.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. For me, I suck at branding. I think everything looks great. And I also can't make a website. I'm a genetic engineer. I could clone stuff all day. Cannot make a website. I don't know what is
Right.
wrong with my brain.
Right.
Does not compute. Luckily, there's other people that are really good at those two things. I want to ask you really quickly about your pleasure manifesto. When did that come about, and why did we need a pleasure manifesto?
So Pleasure Manifesto, I think it was after the history of pleasure. And I think one of the things I observed, is that we as women, we can sometimes lack the vocabulary to talk about what we want.
Mhm.
And we are often not reminded enough that we deserve pleasure. We deserve all the goodness that our bodies are capable of. And so the manifesto is in a way that is to, like you said, to help women to feel less alone, and is it's almost like a cheerleader and a friend that's like, yes, own it, like it's yours. You're not weird, you're not alone. It's okay to be kinky. You can do anything. It's okay. And so that's kind of the sentiment of that.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's so amazing. I love manifestos, right? So we even have a femtech manifesto about like the future of women's health is going to be equal. Like we're going for it, right? Like we're here saving women's lives, and that includes pleasure, because there's actually, I think there's some studies that show like orgasms in relation to health, and that's a whole nother episode.
100%. 100%. There are definitely proven, documented health benefits to having regular orgasms and or how pleasure really enhances one's well-being.
Everyone go get it. Okay. I don't care what time it is. If you're at work, go. Go.
Also, our website, lovecrave.com, is super PG. Like, people have landed on there and thought that like we were selling USB flash drives. Like, I am not joking. I've had people.
Yeah, totally. Well, T, this has been so amazing. I have two last questions for you that our listeners love. The first one is, we have a lot of aspiring femtech founders. So what's an area in women's health and wellness that you think still needs innovating?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, you know, if you just look around, things like seatbelts, for example, it's sometimes it's not even very specifically female. I mean, one of the travesties is that we still do not have seatbelts that fit pregnant women.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, Car crashes is the number one cause of fetal death relating to maternal trauma.
Well,
I mean, we have like, hello, it's like a lot of the needs for women, even in products that are supposedly designed for the general population, have not considered women's anatomy, women's genetic, well, just makeup and, in mind. And so I think there is a lot that we need to go back and fix. So especially like, about, in the medical realm, I don't know if you've heard, like a lot of clinical trials are often done with just men as the first test for efficacy.
yeah.
So imagine that. Like, I can't help, like, so they do that and then they bring in women perhaps later on, if they ever do. And some of the complaints I've heard is that they don't bring on women is because they don't want to have to deal with their menstruation and like all these things. I'm just like, but that's what being a woman is. And so you can't just ignore all of that and be like, oh, we just want humankind to be male, and therefore I just feel, especially in like clinical trials, like how much how many how much medicine have women missed out on, because the efficacy wasn't found in men, where it could have worked on only women.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Oh,
it's
that's,
just,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
What drugs were thrown out of the trial because it didn't work, but it was because it
Mhm.
didn't work on men's metabolism. And what drugs have worked with men's metabolism and their physiology that actually doesn't work for women, and women die because they're getting the drug and it doesn't really work,
Right.
you know?
have you
Um,
have you heard of a book called Invisible Women by Caroline Perez?
yes, we actually at Femtech Focus have a book club where once a month we pick a book, and at the end of the month we review it. And I think that's on our list this year.
Oh my goodness. So, well, check out my Instagram, because I did an IG live interview with her. She
Okay.
is like my soul sister. Talking to her, I felt so at home, because I think a lot of the frustrations that we're talking about, in her book, she actually has data so that, because, sometimes when we say these things like, oh, women, you're so emotional, you're so crazy, that doesn't exist, gaslighting us. But really, no, she actually puts the data, the facts out there. So you're like, yeah, you know, uh, you know, not having seatbelts for women is causing maternal trauma. And so there's just so many things, from snow plowing to heart attack medicine to, auto safety, voice recognition. Anyway, there's just so many. So please read that book. It is a Bible. I tell every design professors to make their design students read.
Yes, yes, yes. 110%. We're right there with you. Totally. Our last question is, what do you think the femtech industry as a whole needs the most right now in order to be successful?
I think it takes insights for both men and women, and embracing lived experiences. It's not about excluding men, but it's about bringing women with lived experiences as the stakeholders into companies so that we can all come up with better solutions for everyone. So, yeah, I think it's not about excluding men. We need, their support, and we need diversity of men, so that we can all get to a better outcome, because the world's fucked up and we're not going to solve this alone. We need everybody.
Yeah.
So,
We need
yeah.
everybody. And Femtech Focus, we love our men. We love our men. We love our gender non-conforming. We love our gender fluids, whatever. Like we are very not, I always say kind of silly, like we're not just a bunch of angry feminists that want to talk about clitorises. We're a bunch of like excited feminists about like the future of clitorises and like what we could do for them, and we can make money via investment, and we can make innovation and health, and so we're very pro men. We love our male founders. It's actually quite interesting that they struggle to fundraise for femtech companies because investors cannot believe that they would care that much about women's health. So it's just all the gender issues, man, all of the issues. But luckily, we have people like you making badass vibes and, making it personalized to women and traveling the country in cool vans. I would please, like, when the world opens back up, I would love to hitchhike for a little bit on that. That looks amazing.
I'll invite you. I'll give you a call and be like, hey, I'm here. You want to meet up?
Hey, girl, I'll be right there. Yes, I
Yeah.
would totally be there. Well, thanks so much for your time today. You are amazing.
Thank you.